shift the way you lead, the way you live. Clarity, courage, change. Because your next level won't wait. This is Monday MindShift, the clarity you've been craving, the shift you didn't know you needed. All right, good morning, happy Monday. I see that we just went live on LinkedIn, and let me get my camera adjusted here. Hope everybody had a good weekend. Welcome to the second, is it the second week? Yeah, second Monday of June. Here we are in the second half of 2026. And are you at the point you wanted to be at this point of the year? That's my question for you, like a side question. As always, welcome. I'm grateful that you're here and appreciate you being here, sharing your comments. That's the only way I know who's here. So feel free to say where you're joining from. Let me know you're here. Like Kenneth right there, down in Sugarland, Texas. I'm down here in Guatemala, where it's a rainy season, and although it makes everything grow better, it also causes a lot of challenges. So that's always fun. You know, everything's a trade-off, right? We have beautiful temperatures. It's springtime all year long. But when it rains, it rains. So, love to have everybody here. I see a couple people are joining on LinkedIn. I know Leslie's just wrapping up. Narcisse, welcome. Let me know where you're joining from. Happy to have you here and excited to talk about Texas as well. Nice. Excited to talk about hustle, right? And the identity that is often just below that hustle mindset, right? The rise and grind. I'm anti-hustle, by the way, if you didn't already know. And Sharon, welcome. Gratitude to have you here, your wisdom, your interaction. And we're building our audience. Love to have you all here. What's on your mind this week? Second half of 2026, right? Third quarter of the year. What have you accomplished? What still is pending for you? Anything like that? How have you seen growth in yourself so far this year? Have you seen growth this year? Desert life. Although you get monsoons, Sharon, as well. They may not be as frequent as Guatemala, but I know my father lived in Gilbert, and I remember the parks in Gilbert were like, they turned into lakes in the wintertime. So no surprise there. But yes, I lived in New Mexico, so I understand desert life. Good morning, Omar. 2-digit temps. Aren't all temps 2 digits, Sharon? I'm confused. Anjaris, new face on the channel. Welcome. Glad to have you. It's actually morning for me, so you must be in the eastern side or in a later time zone, Jaris. And I hope I'm saying that name correctly. Just going to give this a few more minutes to let more people join us. Feel free to say hi to each other. Any questions you have? How does hustle play out in your own life? And Alex, welcome. Glad to have you here. Another new face I've not seen on the show before, over in Boston. Never been to Boston yet. Oh no. Bike accident. Gotta be careful, Sharon. Danville, Virginia. Yes, it is afternoon in Eastern Zone, right? I'm back here right now we're in Mountain Zone. Like Sharon down there in Arizona, we don't change. So part of the year I'm in Mountain Zone and part of the year I'm in Central Zone. Confusing. Ah, gotcha. Out of the triple digits. Nice. Yes, that region, the Southwest, can get excruciatingly hot. And I visited my father in Gilbert. I lived in New Mexico. Yeah, no thanks. Our average daily temperature is 70s and 80s every day. So it's quite perfect. And nighttime, it drops down to mid 60s. So quite nice. All right, let me get started here. So welcome back to Monday MindShift. If you're new, I'm thrilled to have you here with us. And if you've been here before, you know how I roll. This is a no hype zone. I do only real. And we're already 4 episodes into the Identity Under Pressure series. Before that, we looked at the identity blind spot, looking at the things we don't notice, right? Our blind spots. You need somebody else to show you your blind spots. That's why we call them blind spots, right? The patterns underneath your leadership. You usually can't see them. It's like trying to read the label from inside the jar. And this one is different. It's because it's about what happens when you've stepped onto new ground and suddenly that ground shifts and those old patterns get tested. And so far, we've looked at what happens when success arrives and your self-concept can't handle it, can't hold it. We looked at the AI question and even the cost of being the ever calm one. Today, we're going to look at something a lot of people never question, because it's the thing that they used that helped them build everything they have, and that's hustle. And let me be really precise here about what I mean. I'm not saying slow down and smell the roses. That's not the conversation I want to have. This is about habits and the identity that runs them. And let me ask you this, and I want you to sit with this before you answer it. Don't answer it too fast. When was the last time you were still and it felt good rather than dangerous? Now, I don't mean relaxed on the beach with a plan to get back to work. I mean 100% stopped. no task to check off or some next thing you're looking to do, or worse, that quiet list running in the back of your mind. If you have to stop and think about that for your answer, you're exactly the person who needs to hear this. Feel free during the show to drop something in the comments if that question sparked something for you. And I will come back to that later. But what I know, what I've seen over and over in high performers, is that stillness doesn't feel like rest. It feels like falling. And many people don't want to say that out loud. They feel like it makes them sound ungrateful, acting a bit dramatic, or weak. So what do? We keep moving because we keep moving, and we call that what? Ambition. He's so ambitious. She's so ambitious. Josette, you're coming through today, or at least where I'm watching you. Let's see if you're coming through. No, on Restream, you're coming through as LinkedIn user, just as you expected. Interesting how LinkedIn does that. And here's the story most people will tell themselves about hustle. You'll hear, I just have a lot going on right now. Or, I'm really driven. Or, it's just a season. Things will calm down after the launch. Wait till next quarter, it'll be better. Once we get through this hiring phase, things will settle. You and I both know that season, that change, that next season, next quarter, after the launch, it doesn't come. Because we always have that next thing waiting to justify our pace. So let's talk about what's really going on under that. At some point, for high performers especially, high achievers, striving stops being something you do and simply becomes who you are. And I want you to notice a difference there. Because when striving is something you do, you can put it down. You can stop it. You can take a break. But when it's who you are, it can feel like erasing yourself if you put it down. And that doesn't come from nothing. For many, there was a season where motion equaled safety. Perhaps building from a 0 point, right? Could have been that was the only thing, that movement, that ambition. Yolanda, welcome. That ambition was the only thing between you and falling behind. And the only way to avoid that was to push harder. It was right. The drive was right. That hustle was right for that season. The problem is the season ends but the drive doesn't have an off switch. Why? Because underneath that drive is often a self-concept that says, my worth has to be re-earned every single day. Yesterday doesn't count. What I've already built doesn't carry over. If I'm not doing something, if I haven't produced something, I'm not valuable. And today only counts. What I produced yesterday doesn't matter. It's what can I produce today? Here's the line I want you to sit with. You don't keep moving because you have somewhere to be. You keep moving because you're afraid of what you'd feel if you stop. That's the whole enchilada right there. Hustle is almost never about the goal. The goal is just a cover story. The hustle is staying one step ahead of that feeling. That's all it takes. Just one step ahead of the feeling. So let me look at comments. Gisette, Sharon, a lot of saying hello. Absolutely, Sharon. It's programmed in. You got to keep producing. You've got to keep moving, or you become obsolete. And that thread runs through everything we've talked about so far. Right? When people are afraid of AI taking the job, it's that same programming, right? That if a machine can produce exactly the same thing as I can, faster, cheaper, more polished, where's my value? Let me remind you, your value has nothing to do with what you produce. Straight up. I can't say it any clearer. Let me repeat it. Your value has nothing to do with what you produce. When we actually embody that, it changes everything. I know because I lived it. My whole life, multiple decades, was about produce, the next achievement, the next achievement, the next achievement. Got to keep moving, got to keep moving, got to keep moving. If I stop, who am I? If I stop, I can feel myself sliding backwards. It's a lie that's been taught to us. It's been conditioned, it's been programmed in from the get-go. It's part of modern culture. Ileana, wow, there's a name I haven't seen in a long while. Good to see you, Ileana. And you're absolutely right. Stopping can feel scary. But I would say, I always heard it this way: failure isn't falling down, it's staying down. And I would say, alongside this, it's not stopping, it's staying stopped. Or the other side is continually moving, always outrunning, always staying one step ahead of that feeling that we're afraid of. That thought that we're afraid, as soon as I stop and let my mind settle, it's going to come raging in. That is delectably delicious, extravagantly rich, Mr. Dunner. Like everything, Sharon, the same way it was conditioned into everyone around us, including ourselves, that value has to be earned. We model it with our kids. From the earliest age that my son could understand, my wife and I do everything we can to not just tell him he's loved unconditionally, that he's valued unconditionally, but to model it and to show it. And I loved it. I was at an event in January and I was talking to him, and one of the people I met at the event, actually I met her before the event, she runs a children's organization to help kids get ahead in poorer neighborhoods, poorer countries. And we talked, and we were talking about the value of a human, and the way he put it was so beautiful. He explained that each and every one of us has a value just for existing. It's nothing we earn. Does that mean we sit on our butts and eat bonbons all day? No, of course not. There is value in producing. There is value in bringing value to the world, to the market. But your value, my value, is not contingent on my production, on your production. So what are you running from? If you're on that constant treadmill, what is it inside you that you're afraid to face? Like the movies, right, where the hero has to face his greatest enemy. And when it's revealed who his or her greatest enemy is, who is it? Themselves. Right? We are our greatest enemies. All right, so let's go talk about the two chairs. We've done this in several different ways. It's looked differently, but the frame is the same. If you're not familiar, if you're new, just follow along. You'll get it. It's nothing, it's not super complex. Those of you who have been here before, play along. You know how it rolls. So today's chair 1 is the identity that learned production equals value, motion equals safety. We could call it the striver. The version of ourself that was built in the season where stopping was not an option. It was too dangerous. The cost was too high. That version, that person, and that version of you in that chair knows how to push. It's learned to trust the effort and not trust rest. It learned that rest is not safe. Standing still is dangerous. The version of you in that chair, it's worked. It's 100% worked. It got you to where you stand today. So let's honor that. It's not an enemy. It served a purpose. Now, in chair 2, the version of you who knows their worth has nothing to do with the clock, nothing to do with production. The one that can be still and not disappear. That version knows it belongs in the room, production or not. It knows value doesn't drop to 0 at the start of each day. And it can lead you from a place that is settled and grounded, rather than that place that's always trying to prove it belongs in the room, that it deserves to exist. The question here is not which chair is right. The question is, which chair are you actually sitting in? Many of you are thinking you'll want to say chair 2. I mean, who wouldn't? You might even have those rest blocks in your calendar, taking regular vacations or getaways. Have all the right language to talk about balance and, rest and, power of the pause. But I want you to look deeper. What's going on in here? Are words? No. Like Kenny said, right? Action speaks louder than words. Right? We might have the right lingo. We might have a calendar with rest blocks built in, vacations, etc. But what are you feeling inside? Do you feel guilty when you take a break, when you rest? Have you ever called yourself lazy when you slowed down? Does an empty weekend feel more like withdrawal instead of relief? Do you feel like something's wrong? Can't quite settle? If you answered yes to any of that, your calendar somebody might look at your calendar and go, oh, they're in chair 2. But you're still partially sitting in chair 1. So here's my prompt for you to share in the comments. Finish this sentence honestly. If I stopped, I'm afraid I would feel blank. Right? What's that feeling you're afraid of feeling if you stopped? That's our question today for this segment. Pardon me. Let me add that over here because I have non-LinkedIn audience as well. Restream fixed it. Oh, no. Okay. But they did fix something so that we can post to LinkedIn. I just have to update my settings because I gotta notice. So, all right, cool. Leave your comments. I'll read a couple later and we can talk through them. Now, here's my question, the diagnostic that I built this whole episode around. And I want to say it very clearly. What would you have to feel if you stop? Sit with that. Your answer is what your hustle is working to avoid. Bill, glad you made it. And it's perfectly okay that you're late. Because we're talking about rest. Talking about how, right, it's not about production. Yeah, it's valuable to show up on time and produce, but what's the motivation behind it, right? Hustle looks like productivity, but it isn't. For many, many, many high performers, high achievers, it's just an avoidance strategy. Movement is anesthetic. It's just another form, right? Some people drink, some people do drugs, we have all these vices. But what if that constant motion, that constantly chasing the next thing, what if that's your drug of choice? What if you're assuming that as long as you keep moving, you don't ever have to look at that feeling waiting underneath? Because what's normally underneath is a quiet little fear. And that's that fear we talked about just before. If the output goes away, where's my value? Without the performance, who am I? My worth is held up by my action. So, what happens when the action stops, when it takes a pause? If that's my thinking, it falls. Let me name this very directly. Yes, and then you throw in that, Sharon. Bring in the narcissistic tendencies. I'm really cautious about calling someone a narcissist, but I can recognize the tendencies, the behavior. Because if you know me, I'm anti label. Labels are useful to a point, but we have to be careful with labels because labels become the container that holds us and holds others in a place. Understood. There's identifying a child as neurodivergent. You can make concessions to work with that child. I haven't had him tested, but I'm pretty sure. I have an 8-year-old doing high school level math. That's not typical. That's not just intelligence. That's something else. But let me name this directly because many of you might be carrying this. You're running on empty, and you know it. Others have said, take a break, get some rest. You've probably told yourself, I need to take a break. But something in you won't let you. Maybe you even have a layer of shame with that. Christy, welcome. I love that about you, Kenny. perhaps there's a little voice. Maybe it's your voice, maybe it's somebody else's voice that asks, what's wrong with you? Or what's wrong with me? If I know better, why can't I just stop? Let's break that open and look at it. Because not being able to stop is not about weakness. It's an identity running exactly as it was meant to. It's doing exactly what it knows how to do to keep you in a state of safety. It's the only way it knows. You're not broken. There's nothing to be fixed. This is about loyalty. Loyalty to an old self-concept that learned worth and value are earned in motion. It's not a discipline problem. A better morning routine is not going to help you. All the willpower in the world isn't going to change it. If you keep putting all that discipline, morning routines, willpower on an exhausted identity, you're going to get, as Einstein says, is it Einstein? I don't remember, but basically, if you keep doing the same thing expecting different results, that's the definition of an insanity. The real problem, I call it identity authorization. You're waiting for the permission to exist separate from your production. Let's get real. Another task checked off your list won't bring that. Reaching a goal? Nope. Because that old self-concept will just move the line, right? As we hear all the time, changing the goalposts. The permission has to come from you and your self-concept deciding clearly that you've always been worth something, regardless of the output. Think about it. When a baby is born, does that baby have to do anything for its parents to love it? For every person that sees that baby? No. So my question, what changed? Trust me, I know. I've been there. And I had to ask myself the same question. When you were born into this world, ask myself, when you were born into this world, you did not have to do anything to prove that you deserve to exist or any of it. Did people in your life start to give you this feeling like you did? Yeah, I saw that over and over and over and over. But if I look at it with clear eyes, and I can see, and as a father, I really understood this, because when I saw my son for the first time, there's nothing like that in the world. If you have kids, you know what I'm talking about. There's nothing. I raised my niece and nephew. I supported the neighborhoods in a drug-infested, alcoholic neighborhood. So I was doing parenting stuff all the time. Thought I knew it all. And then my son, I put him in my arms. Totally different. Totally different. So going back to where we started, and I asked a question. When did stillness last feel good rather than dangerous? I hope it's clear now that you understand why it feels dangerous. Because in that stillness, the identity sitting in chair 1 can't protect you. It's where we have to sit and face the thing we've been running from our whole life. Where we have to feel it. So our work is not to hustle harder. It's not to rage quit. It's not to burn out and get forced into rest, because it will happen. It will happen, right? My old feather brick 2x4 Mack truck. Are you listening? Are you continuing to run? Because eventually you are going to take a rest, like it or not. God, the universe, your body, your life, it will do it to you. But the real work is to slow down enough that you can meet the version of yourself who doesn't need motion to have value. To let the self-concept catch up with the truth that your output has been screaming at you for years. You have always been enough. Before your to-do list for today, and you will always be enough after it. My closing reflection: who are you when nothing is getting done? I will say, don't panic if you don't have that answer, because that's not a flaw. That blank space, that's where your work is. That's where everything I'm bringing each week is leading us to. Sit with it. Don't rush to the answer. So before I open the floor, I just want to give a comfortable invitation. I offer identity clarity calls. One conversation, up to 45 minutes. We can look at what you've built and who you believe you have to be to deserve the rest, to deserve the moment to just put it down temporarily. And we find the gap between the two. Because that's the only place I work, is in that gap. I'm not about time management techniques and strategies or productivity systems. What I want to look at is, what's the identity underneath it all running the show? What's your OS? I was talking to a developer recently. We were looking at, actually he's a program manager. And we were looking at the Internet Archive and everything that's on there. There's LP recordings of Elvis. And if you don't know what I mean when I say LP, I mean, pre-CD, pre-digital music, pre-cassette tapes, way, way back. You had a big black disc. You had to put it on the machine, turn it on, put the arm down. The sound was very different. There are some purists that only want to listen to music like that. So they had recordings. We were going through software. And I was remembering how when I first started using computers, it was before Windows. People say, oh, early, Windows XP. No, way back, before Windows. I was using a computer before DOS even existed. So I remember when DOS came. I remember when the first versions of Windows came. I remember the conflict between Microsoft and Apple, copyright infringement, all that fun stuff. But one of the things that came up, maybe you remember it, maybe you don't, Windows Millennium, Windows Me, was a horrible system. As soon as Microsoft released it, they were like, oh, what have we done? Last century, Kenneth. You can say that because I know you got more years than me. So are you running Windows Me? Or are you up? Is your OS updated to the latest? Right? My MacBook, I'm up on the latest. My phone is updated on my latest. And we do that kind of automatically, right? We get the updates for the apps we use, the operating system of our devices. But when's the last time you paused? Because when you update an OS, you can't do anything. If you've ever done that, everything stops on the computer. And all the energy, all the processing power goes to putting that OS in. So what do you think happens as a human if we're just keep pushing, rush, and we never take the time to stop? Do you think we can update our OS? Because that's what it takes. Is we have to update our OS. So let me open the stage, share the link. Let's see if I can fix this. Let's see. Will it let me do this live while I'm on stream? Reconnect. Let's see. Wow, a lot of pop-ups here. Go ahead and drop your comments, your questions. I'm going to share the link to join the studio if you want to ask questions live, share your thoughts. Because I'll be honest, that's why I started this show, was originally to bring conversations to life. I did not bring this as a Sean show. All right, it shows that it went to LinkedIn. Can anybody verify, did the studio link show up in the comments? Yes, it did. Thank you, Restream. Yay. See, they did an update. Is that Josette? Nope, that's Christy. Christy, slow and steady. Yeah, slow and steady, as the old rabbit and the tortoise and the hare, right? Slow and steady wins the race. Take time for the pause. Do the updates so that you're ready for the next season. Constantly running and saying, "Oh, just wait, next season, after the launch, after this, after that, after that." And Sharon perfectly said, silence, stillness, solitude. Go for a walk, no headphones, no phone, no music, just you. I promise you, it will change your life. Do it once, do it twice, do it for a whole week, and watch things shift. Okay, I'm feeling lonely up here. Remember, you don't have to be on camera. But if you have something to add, I'd love to hear from you. If not, it is what it is. I appreciate you being here. I thank you for carving a slot out in your day to spend with me this morning on this Monday. All right, so here's another question. When's the last time you rested without earning it first? What was the cost? Tell me in the comments. Right? Because we often say, oh, I'm going to take a week off because I've been pushing really hard for closing second quarter. We do that, right? We're like, oh, I earned it. But when's the last time you just took rest? Because you knew it was good for you. You didn't have to justify it with like, look at how much I did. Now I can take a break. You just took a break. Right? When was the last time? That you just took a rest? And what was the cost of doing that? I'm going to love this new setup, being able to drop comments live to both channels at the same time. Don't forget, I mentioned it before. If you use AI, Claude, ChatGPT, whatever, Claude's better, but to talk to you, to give yourself feedback, as your sounding board, I have a special offer that I call the AI imprint experience. Let me share a screen so we can talk about that. I love that, Christy. Take that rest, enjoy it. No judgment, no guilt. So the AI imprint experience is another thing that I'm offering right now. Chris Pinadella, wow, I have not seen you in ages, sir. Glad you made it. But you know what? I got your back, Chris. I will send you the link on message. Does that work? Just got to click the buttons. Let's see. Whoops, that is not the right link. Any other questions, comments? Tell me about the last time you took rest, or how are you using AI, not to build something, not to create graphics, but to challenge yourself. KDJ. Not sure who that is, Chris, but all right. Look your messages, Chris. I sent you the link because I know how it is with links on mobile. They don't work. The whole LinkedIn experience on mobile is very, very different. All right, so back to the AI imprint experience. So the way it works is first we have a meeting to see if it's a good fit. You and I talk, we see where you're at, see if it's a good fit for you, for me, for all of us. But if you get on board, the first step, I've built 5 questions that are designed to help surface the identity wounds underneath everything. And then I review those answers and I give you like a 20 to 30 minute video walkthrough of what I discovered based on your answers to the questions. Then we schedule a 90-minute call and we go deep. We start digging through the layers, looking for the questions underneath your answers. finding the patterns under the patterns, right? And I build everything that's designed to capture a snapshot of your identity. Then I build you your personal identity imprint document and a structured prompt that you can give to your AI of choice. As I said, Claude works best, with a usage guide so you know exactly how to use it. And then you can give that to your chatbot of choice, and now it understands you at a deeper level. It knows your blind spots better. It knows where to push you a little bit, maybe. And then there's a 30-minute follow-up call at the end of 30 days to see what you noticed, to look at how did it work, how did it help. If you're interested, send me a message. We'll have a chat. But I'm offering it at a special beta price. I just wanted to bring that up. I haven't been promoting it very well because actually I've been building a system for coaches that fills a gap that exists in coaching, that will make it better for coaches and for their clients. So I've been building that. And so if you know coaches, maybe they're already connected to me. I'm looking to talk to people who are coaching. Could be career coaches, life coaches, business coaches, leadership, executive coaches. Right now, I'm just talking to people to find out if what I've designed is helpful. What are the big challenges they're facing? So if you know someone, send them my way. Much appreciated. Much appreciated having you here today, all of you. Thank you for your time and attention. I have 4 minutes before the top of the hour. If anybody wants to join or drop any further questions in the chat, feel free. Once again, glad to see new faces like, let me go back through my list. New names like Jairus and Alex. The faces I'm very familiar with, like Christy. Narcisse is a newer face, but she's been here a few times. Sharon, Yolanda, thank you. Kenneth, always a pleasure to have you, sir. Ileana and Chris, 2 names I haven't seen around in a long time. Glad to see those names pop in. Bill, glad to have you here. Let's see. Josette, Christy, thank you all for being here. Sending you love and light. Have an awesome week, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
In the shadow of a mirror, where the past holds tight, he walks in with fire, igniting the night. A truth seeker's vision, he shines through the black. With every step forward, he won't look back, telling tales of struggle, the masks we wear. We're bound by the labels, lost in the snare. Time to break free from those chains of